Harvey Weinstein's star is falling fast. Now more than 40 women, including some of the world's most famous stars, are accusing the disgraced Hollywood mogul of sexual misconduct or worse.
Harvey Weinstein, who believed in us and made this movie.
Hollywood executive Harvey Weinstein has been sacked by his own company.
I would like to thank Harvey Weinstein.
Weinstein had previously taken a voluntary leave of absence following decades of sexual harassment allegations.
Thank you, Harvey Weinstein.
Allegations by numerous women who say the Hollywood mogul sexually harassed them.
Harvey and Bob Weinstein, you also break my heart with your uncensored passion.
Harvey Weinstein, Bob Weinstein, God bless them.
Especially Harvey.
And Harvey and Bob Weinstein.
Claudia, come here. You see that man? That's Max Fabian, the producer. Now go and do yourself some good.
Why do they always look like unhappy rabbits?
Because that's what they are. Now go and make him happy.
I don't want to make trouble. All I want is a drink.
Leave it to me. I'll get you one.
Thank you, Mr. Fabian.
Well done. I can see your career rising in the east like the sun.
The year 2017 saw the sexual abuse allegations of Harvey Weinstein come to light. The acclaimed Hollywood producer was accused of exploiting his influential position to commit dozens of sexual assault acts, including rape. This revelation sparked a worldwide movement named the #MeToo movement. Over 100 women in the film industry came forward with accusations towards the film mogul. Despite denying these allegations, Weinstein was dismissed from his company and was removed from many associations and effectively retired from public life. Suddenly, thousands of women, both in the Hollywood industry and elsewhere, came out with their own stories of how they were sexually assaulted, prompting widespread media attention on this issue. Outside of the film industry, many powerful men also came under fire with their own allegations, with many of them being removed from their influential positions, as well as being prosecuted. Prominent actresses use their public image as a platform to condemn this behaviour and to empower women to speak up against the men who have abused them. Never had the entertainment industry come together like this and unite for a cause. The emotion, the anger, the uproar. It seems like Hollywood are the champions for women empowerment. The star-studded celebrities of Hollywood Boulevard appear to be the defenders of female victims to sexual assault, leading the charge to rid the world of these truly vile and wicked monsters. Well, not exactly. Let's jump back a few decades to March 1977. High-profile director Roman Polanski, known at the time for movies such as Rosemary's Baby and Chinatown, was arrested and charged with 6 offences, including the drugging and rape of a 13-year-old. It won't be necessary for me to give details about this case, simply because it's too heinous and revolting to do so. However, Polanski pleaded not guilty at his arraignment to all charges. He later agreed to a plea bargain in which he pleaded guilty to unlawful intercourse with a minor, and the other 5 charges were dropped, to which he would not go to prison but get probation. Yet Judge Rittenband, upon further consideration, decided that Polanski did deserve a prison sentence, prompting the now disgraced director to flee the United States before he was sentenced, becoming a fugitive. Whether Rittenband violated the California Code of Judicial Ethics or not, the fact remains that Polanski, at the very least, admitted to having sexual acts with a 13-year-old, and at worst, is a child rapist. Whatever you believe, Roman Polanski is a perverted and depraved individual who deserves harsh penalties. While you and I might come to this natural conclusion, what have been Hollywood's responses over the years? Give him the Academy Award for Best Director.
And the Oscar goes to Roman Polanski for The Pianist.
The enormous attention that his sexual assault case generated, sparking much outrage, did not deter the accomplished film director from continuing his craft. Since his arrest and escape from custody in 1977, Polanski has directed 13 films, the most recent in 2019, and has featured some of Hollywood's biggest names. Additionally, he received 6 Academy Awards and numerous other nominations and accolades, despite still being wanted by US authorities. In 2009, over 100 people in Hollywood signed a petition for his release. These included some of the biggest names like Martin Scorsese, Harrison Ford, Woody Allen, and funnily enough, Harvey Weinstein. During his arrest, many Hollywood executives came to his defense, and to this day, it is not popular among the elites to criticize the child abuser.
Roman Polanski is not a predator.
Well, I have a very clear definition of
separating someone from their work and their life.
Roman Polanski, I'm very sorry that he's in jail.
Was not charged. I know it wasn't rape. There is a
statutory
child molest, maybe. I'm not sure what it was something else, but I don't believe it was rape.
This is baffling then, that somebody like Harvey Weinstein, who is deservedly imprisoned, is universally condemned by all. If you defended him, you'd be crucified by the media, by Hollywood and their dependable Twitter accounts, and most people would wonder if he even had a brain. But when it comes to a child rapist, you award him the most prestigious award a director can receive? Where are the Naomi Judds, the Alyssa Milanos, to defend Samantha Geimer, or even the more recent accusations against the acclaimed director? For sure, sexual assault by powerful men is very, very wrong. But is it possible Hollywood was so quick to condemn Weinstein because it was the social trend at the time? Do the enormously wealthy and powerful actors actually care about ordinary incidents of abuse? Or do they tweet, "Believe women," so they can get a pat on the back by the world and then resume their lives aboard their million-dollar yachts? Do they genuinely care about this global movement? Or are they more worried that they are a dying star and want to get back in the spotlight? The inconsistency points to the latter. Let's look at another example. Woody Allen is another critically acclaimed film director whose works have spanned across several decades. He's had multiple marriages, which is not unusual among Hollywood. What is unusual, however, is his current and longest relationship with his wife, Sunyi Privan. But first, some context. In 1979, Allen and actress Mia Farrow met and began a romantic relationship. At the start of this relationship, Farrow had 7 children with her from a previous marriage to Andre Previn. 3 were biological and 4 adopted, including Sunyi Privan. By 1987, according to Allen, he and Farrow had split up. Over the next few years, he and Farrow's adopted daughter, Sunyi, would become closer. In 1992, Mia Farrow discovered nude photographs of a then-aged 22 Sunyi in Woody Allen's home. Allen, then aged 56, told Farrow he had taken the photos several days before, being 2 weeks after the first time he slept with Farrow's adopted daughter, Sunyi. That year, Allen made a public announcement that he loved Sunyi and that he had no problem with their relationship because they never saw their relationship being under a father-daughter context. They married 5 years later. In short, Woody Allen married his former girlfriend's adopted daughter who was 45 years younger than him. Confusing? Yes, I agree. The words weird, inappropriate, and bordering on predatory would be acceptable to describe his bizarre relationship. But this is not the focal point, no matter how wrong it is, of Allen's sexual misdeeds. In 1992, Allen was accused of sexual misconduct with Mia Farrow's child, Dylan. Allen naturally denied such allegations, and although was found to not have sexually abused Dylan, was denied custody over her and her siblings by a judge. Over the years, particularly when Allen received an award, this case returned to the media's attention. In 2014, it took a different turn, which prompted much criticism when a letter by Dylan was published in a New York Times column. While these accusations have brought about more criticism from our friends in Hollywood than the Roman Polanski case, it still demonstrates the gaping hole of hypocrisy that has infested the entertainment industry. Scarlett Johansson, in 2018's Women March, criticised James Franco on his sexual assault allegations.
My mind baffles. How could a person publicly stand by an organization that helps to provide support for victims of sexual assault while privately preying on people who have no power? I want my pin back, by the way.
But in regard to Woody Allen, a director that has featured the actress in 3 of his movies, she is silent. In fact, she admires the director, who once described her as criminally sexy when he was 71 and she was 22. In response to Dylan Farrow's open letter published in 2014, she defended Allen, quote, "I think he'll continue to know what he knows about the situation, and I'm sure the other people involved have their own experience of it." In 2019, she said, "I love Woody, I believe him, and I would work with him anytime." Actress Kate Winslet also defended Allen in a 2017 New York Times interview. Of course, one thinks about it, but at the same time, I didn't know Woody, and I don't know anything about that family. As the actor in the film, you just have to step away and say, I don't know anything, really, and whether any of it is true or false. Having thought it all through, you put it to one side and just work with the person. Woody Allen is an incredible director, so is Roman Polanski. I had an extraordinary working experience with both of those men, and that's the truth. Here is actress Blake Lively on the same allegations. It's very dangerous to factor in these things you don't know anything about. I could only know my experience. and my experience with Woody is he's empowering to women. Was it also dangerous to factor in things you don't know anything about when the entire world sided with one woman's testimony accusing Supreme Court nominee Brett Kavanaugh of sexual assault? During this hearing, which led Hollywood to answer the call, Brett Kavanaugh was guilty before he had a chance to defend himself, before any evidence, whether credible or not, was present. Kate Winslet, I'm sure, does not know Mr. Kavanaugh or his family, like she didn't know Woody Allen and his family. So did she apply the same philosophy to Brett Kavanaugh like she did for Allen and his allegations? Or did she, like most of Hollywood, jump to Christine Blasey Ford's defense, rather than putting it aside? Scarlett Johansson would have certainly believed Brett Kavanaugh, like she said in a 2014 interview about Woody Allen. It's not like this is somebody that's been prosecuted and found guilty or something, and you can then go, I don't support this lifestyle or whatever. I mean, it's all guesswork. Of course not. Brett Kavanaugh was labelled a rapist by the elite before he could share his testimony, before any proof was provided, but more importantly, he was condemned for sexual assault allegations because of the political complications he would have caused if he joined the Supreme Court. Notice the inconsistency here. Woody Allen is a celebrated and accomplished film director, one who has provided many opportunities for actresses, and because he's had the most professional actor-director relationship, according to Kate Winslet, that she has ever had, this means he should be believed, despite his daughter, a vulnerable woman, accusing him of abuse.
Democrats worry Roe v. Wade hangs in the balance with the nomination of Judge Brett Kavanaugh to the Supreme Court.
Brett Kavanaugh is a conservative politician who threatens left-wing policies such as women's right to abortion, and therefore all women must be heard. Woody Allen himself said in response to the allegations towards him in the New York Times, quote, "Of course, I did not molest Dylan. No one wants to discourage abuse victims from speaking out, but one must bear in mind that sometimes there are people who are falsely accused, and that is also a terribly destructive thing." See the similarities between this and the Kavanaugh allegations? It would be the truth to say that the elites were doing this very thing in their attempts to prevent him from joining the Supreme Court. On February 2020, Harvey Weinstein was sentenced to 23 years in prison, as he should be. At last, Hollywood can return to a safer environment where women did not have to sleep with executives to advance in their career. Well, no. This behaviour, nicknamed the casting couch, where film executives with power and influence give up-and-coming actresses a role or anyone else looking for a position in exchange for intercourse, has been entrenched in the Hollywood culture for almost the entirety of its existence. Louis B. Mayer, co-founder of MGM Studios, was accused of inappropriately touching a then-teenage Julie Garland way back in the 1930s. During Hollywood's golden era, Harry Cohn, the former president of Columbia Studios, asked for sex from many actresses in exchange for employment, and was described by many as abusive and tyrannical. According to Hollywood star Marilyn Monroe in her memoir, quote, "I met them all. Some were vicious and crooked, but you saw Hollywood with their eyes, an overcrowded brothel, a merry-go-round with beds for horses." These are only a few of the biggest names in Hollywood history. How many other thousands of unknown cases has occurred over the decades of Hollywood? It can also be argued that many of the female stars contributed towards this culture by acting seductively to producers in order to get a role. And while this may be the case for many of the actresses out there, it is not the focus of this video. To reiterate, the purpose is to highlight the toxic society of Hollywood that is drenched in hypocrisy. Why has it taken almost an entire century for the revelation of sexual abuse in Hollywood to come forward? If our beloved actors and actresses were so determined to end the abuse, how come only in the last 5 years has it become so heated? I can understand that an 18-year-old up-and-coming actress has little power or influence to do anything. The multi-millionaire stars that don't have a lot at stake should have spoken up the moment they knew about it. Or can it possibly be that these stars who have all of a sudden come out of nowhere to defend women across the globe have only done so because it's a trending and popular political stance? I should say, however, that not all of Hollywood falls under this umbrella of virtue signalling. Actress Léa Seydoux, in a 2020 interview, criticised the film industry and their response to sexual abuse allegations. Quote, "There is a lot of hypocrisy," she said, "because people knew, and they take advantage now to say, yes, I've been a victim, and they become heroes." Seydoux has hit the nail on the head, and this is seen quite clearly when comparing two US presidents and Hollywood's treatment towards them, Donald Trump and Joe Biden. During the 2016 election, Donald Trump was repeatedly lambasted as a rapist, a sexual predator, and pretty much every name under the sun.
A racist, abusive coward.
Thanks to this leaked conversation, Trump's image was flushed down the drain, Entire protests with the full support of the Hollywood army were dedicated in removing him from office based off of the narrative that he gropes and inappropriately touches women. While I'll be the first person to say that he is by no means a moral person to whom anyone should look up to, it is truly astonishing how silent Hollywood could be about the current president they were so furiously trying to elect. During his election campaign, Joe Biden was accused by Tara Reid, a former staffer, that he sexually assaulted her. This was never proven, but the silence by our Me Too heroes in Hollywood was deafening. But that's not to mention the unnaturally common occurrences of President Biden's obsession with small children and their hair. Yet Hollywood's silence continues to echo, despite the alarming number of times he behaved like this. I can only imagine if Trump or some other Republican politician did this just even once in front of the camera. The purpose of this video isn't to discredit women who've been sexually abused by men. They are a disgusting and evil group of people who deserve to be severely punished. The point of this video isn't to make excuses as to why sexual abuse exists in the film industry, or to put any of the blame on women. Rather, this video and this series is to highlight and expose the excruciating hypocrisy that runs rampant among our insufferable Hollywood elites. And I must stress that I do not categorize all actors, actresses, directors, and other executives in this. There are those, although rare, who keep their political opinions to themselves and spare us their pathetic, holier-than-thou judgments. Actors and actresses are no better than any of us, but hand them an extreme amount of money and fans, and suddenly they are. In an ideal world, the Me Too movement would continue its relevance in the media and on Twitter. But soon, a new crisis will reveal itself, and suddenly Meryl Streep, Seth Rogen, and Emma Watson will have found a new cause that they've been champions for since day one.